we're going to go, and Rabbi Lubin can't get in now because he's beyond the 100-person limit. So whoever can get in will only be let in for a few seconds and then they're dropped off. So again, I apologize for these technical difficulties. We thought we had this all straightened out before, but we're unaware of the limit of 100 person. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to, for a few seconds, just say a few words about Yad Eliezer, and then we're going to go right to Rabbi Wein. We will record this, and then it'll be available for the entire shul and the entire community afterwards. But right now, this is going to be for 100 people or 200 people. Most of us just have somebody next to us who are on this call. And again, my apologies for this. I just want to say, first of all, I just have a tremendous sense of gratitude for having worked with Rifki and with Sharon and Harvey and Barry and Rosa for many years on this program. This is a wonderful tribute to Sharon's parents, who and Joyce Nissel and Joyce's parents. This has really been a program that has really, we have, through our joint community efforts, have really raised, no exaggeration, hundreds of thousands of dollars to feed the poorest people in the state of Israel before Yontif, before Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, giving them food for Sukkot, etc. It's a small drop in the bucket compared to what Yad Eliezer does, because Yad Eliezer distributes millions and millions of dollars worth of food and has many, many other programs for the poor in Israel, throughout the state of Israel. But in our own little way, this community has really done a lot to take care of many, many poor families in Israel for many, many years. And this is a great schus, a great merit to all of us. So I just, again, want to thank Sharon and Harvey for really starting this with Joyce, allowing us to be a part of it and allowing us to bring the catches in, and then to bring all of you in to participate with us in the mitzvah of tzedakah before Rosh Hashanah. And as Chazal, our rabbis, tell us, it really is, it's one of the pillars, one of the three things that's absolutely paramount during this time: teshuvah, tefillah, tzedakah. We have to give tzedakah this time, and hopefully in that merit, we will all be benched. We will all have a blessing for a Shana Tova and a K'tivah v'Chatima Tova. I'd like to personally apologize again to everyone, and especially to Rabbi Luban. I am sorry for that. And Aaron, oh, and by the way, if anyone would still like to contribute to this year's campaign, you can either do that by sending a check to Yad Eliezer, make it out to Yad Eliezer and send it to me, Jack Atkin at 16 Hamlin Road in Edison, 08817, or you can go online to American Friends of Yad Eliezer and do it that way, and you have a chance then also to see all the wonderful programs that they have. Okay, Aaron, I'm done, so whenever you're ready.
Okay.
A very good day to everyone. It's my honor and pleasure to say a few words to you on behalf of Yad Eliezer, which is one of the premier charity organizations that helps so many families and individuals here in the land of Israel. We say in the Slichot, Merubim tzorchei amcha. There are a lot of things that we need, especially this year. V'datam k'tzora. And we don't really understand what we need. We only deal superficially. And therefore we ask God to fulfill our needs as He sees them and as He realizes them to be necessary. And that certainly is the case this year. We pray for a good and healthy year, that somehow the scourge will be removed from us, but that we will have gained by the experience, and that we will be more sober and understanding, will be better because of it. Because all of life is to teach us to be better. And therefore, all experiences, even those that we deem to be negative, have within themselves the ability to be very positive in their influence upon us and our behavior. Ki me'Hashem lo teitzei oro v'atov. Everything emanates from God, and kol mai de'ovid rachmona l'tav ovid. God is always doing for our benefit, that we should be able to become better and stronger. So I want to talk to you for a few minutes. There's a combination here of Yad Eliezer and the Yamin Noroim. And that combination is reflected in the life and story of Avraham Avinu, our father Avraham and our mother Sora. The prophet Yeshayahu says, Habitu el Avraham avichem vel Sora tcholalchem. Look back at Avraham and Sora. Avraham, your father, and Sora, who gave birth to you. Ki echad krosiv. I call them unique. Echad is unique. It's not one. It's unique. What was their uniqueness? Well, it's reflected in many ways. One way that we're all acquainted with is what the Mishnah teaches us. Asor nisyonos nisnasa Avraham Avinu ve'omad bekulam. Avraham Avinu is tested over and over again. Ve'omad bekulam. And he stood greater after each and every one of them. The greatness of Avraham Avinu is that he is somehow immune to the society. He's immune to all of the social, economic, and psychological pressures that exist. We know how difficult it is. It's going to be very difficult to be an Orthodox Jew, in my opinion, in the United States in the future. The pressures are against it. They're against it now. What is completely forbidden to us is supposed to be acceptable. And we see that it has even infiltrated the Jewish world, even the religious Jewish world. So that things that the Torah has forbidden, explicitly forbidden, we say, well, we can adjust to it. We'll make it go somehow, which is the recipe for disaster. Has always been the recipe for disaster. And Avraham Avinu and Sora, Lama Nikra Shmo Avraham Ivri. Why is he called Avraham Ivri? Shehu Me'ever Echad. He's on one side of the divide, the rest of the world is on the other side of the divide. It's very lonely to be on one side of the divide. It's not easy. Not easy to raise children this way. It's not easy to have a school system this way. It's not easy to be able to stand up and not give in to all of the current political correctness and social pressures. We are the children of Avraham and Sora. They were unique. We have to be unique. And the greatness of the Jewish people throughout all of the ages, from the beginning of our existence till today, is that we were different. So when we speak about returning, who are we returning to? We're returning to Avraham Avinu and Sora. We're returning to be different. We're returning to what all of Jewish history was. We are in effect saying we're not going to play your game. We're not going to give in. We're going to be what we are. Because what we are is eternal. Everything in the Torah is lasting. It's here. And all fads and social correctness melt away eventually. 100 years from now, our descendants will look back at us and laugh. Just as we look back and laugh at what went on 100 years ago. But the Torah remains. And the ideas of Avraham Avinu remain. The Omad Bekulam. We stand. We have to be strong. We cannot give in. Now that will have consequences. There's no question it will have consequences. And there's no question that the challenges will be enormous. But we see that we have no choice. The Lord has painted us into the corner. We read in the Torah, V'shavtem ar Hashem Elokecha. You're going to return to God. You're going to have nowhere else to go. And that's really what Abraham pointed out to all the world in his time. You have nowhere else to go. Where are you going to go? To Sodom and Amorah? Las Vegas and Hollywood? Is that what you want for yourselves? Is that the type of life that you want to look back on and say, well, that was well lived? And therefore, Avraham Avinu is the kindest, gentlest person in the world. He takes 3 Arab Bedouins into the house, and he and Sora are able to make them into angels. Because that's his power of goodness. But on the other hand, to save his nephew Lot, he goes to war. It's not that Avraham Avinu is a nice guy. That's not what the Torah is teaching us. The Torah is teaching us he's a man of values and principle. And all of the goodness and kindness, the hospitality, the warmth, the care for others, the ability even to pray that Sodom should be spared, that emanates from his value system, not from a softness and personality. So when we say that we want to return, Hashivenu Hashem Elecha V'noshuva, God, turn us back. We'll come back. Come back. You have to know where you worked in order to come back to it. Most of the Jewish people, tragically in our time, have no idea who they were, where they came from, what it means to be a Jew. People think that being a Jew means to subscribe to the platform of the Democratic Party. I'm not speaking politically, I'm just speaking in terms of outlook. So how can we return? We don't know where to return to. I remember that once I was invited to speak, and it was a home that was on a isolated cul-de-sac. I couldn't find it. It took me 15, 20 minutes till we finally got to the house. When I was finished and I was leaving, I said to the host, could you tell me how I get out of here? How do I go back? And he had a warped sense of humor. So he said, well, just put the car in reverse and you'll go back. I thought about that, not as a practical solution, but that only works if you know where you came from. Otherwise, you have no idea where you're going. And that's why it's important for Jews to know their history. It's important for Jews to know Tanakh. It's important for Jews to know Talmud. It's important for Jews to be able to tell their children and grandchildren all about their family and their antecedents and where they came from, and great stories about great people, because then we know where to go back to. I always say to myself, who would I like to be? I'd like to be my grandfather. I'm not my grandfather. My grandfather was a great rabbi, and he was a scholar who learned in Volozhin, and he was a disciple of the Netziv, and I'm not, he founded the yeshiva. I'm not him, but that's who I would like to be. And the Baal Shem Tov says in one of his comments that in heaven a person is judged not only by what the person is, but by what the person would wish to be. And therefore Chazal say everybody should say to themselves, Ad Mosai Yagiu Masai Lamasei Avosai Lamasei Avrom Yitzchak V'Yaakov. When will I reach that? When will I also be like Avraham Avinu? When will I also be like Sora? That's a good question. Those are the questions we have to answer, because that's where we come from. And in our care for others, we fulfill the nature of our creation. We are the children of Avraham and Sora. But you have to have that feeling of uniqueness. You have to have the feeling that you're special. If you don't feel you're special, then you can't do it. And that's why I cannot speak for heaven, but that's why I think that we really are so few in numbers. A few good men, that's us. So I'm special. And we say that every morning, Ashreinu matov chalkeinu manoim goreleinu mayofa yushaseinu. How fortunate we are. I can do mitzvahs. And the Rebbeinu Shalom will provide each and every one of us with enormous opportunities to do the right thing. So every day is a gift. It gives us new opportunities. It gives us a chance to be Avraham Avinu. It gives us a chance to have the relationship to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That is really the essence of life. And that's what we should think about during the Yom Noraim. And think about our relationship to the Creator, and our relationship to ourselves and to our children and to future generations. What do we want our grandchildren to remember about us? So many times, you hear descendants speak about their antecedents, that he took them to a ball game or that he played with them in the backyard. I don't demean that. That's important. But that's not the essence of who my antecedent was. I remember devotion, loyalty, humility, goodness to others. a sense of vision, a sense of understanding who the Jewish people are, what the land of Israel is. That's what we have to return to. That's where we are driven. And we see in the Torah and in all the words of the prophets that if we don't do it on our own, then the Lord will do it for us, so to speak, and it's much more painful that way. It took us a long time to learn that Berlin is not Jerusalem. And it's expensive. The Torah says simply, Mo Hashem Elokecha Doresh Mimcha. What does the Rebbeinu Shalom want from you? He tells you, the Navi, Ki Masos Mishpat, behave justly, do what's right. We know what's right. Don't cheat, don't steal, don't curse. Do what's right. Ve'avas Chesed. And love the ability to help others. The people that founded and worked for Yad Eliezer, they don't have to do that. But when you see people that need help, then help them. That's what you're here for. And we should all be thankful that we can be from the helpers and not necessarily from the helped. And to walk humbly with the Ribono Shel Olam. No, don't be arrogant. Don't say, look at me, look how great I am. Don't say what I'm entitled to. The sin of our generation is high expectations. We're entitled. Everyone is entitled. The Torah teaches us that we enter this world without any entitlements. And whatever we thought we were entitled to, we certainly leave behind. Don't take it with us. So a little less arrogance. A little less intolerance towards others, towards ideas that we don't necessarily agree with. All of that was taught to us by our father Avraham and by our mother Sora. Chazal say about Sora, brocha metzuya ba'isa. The dough that she made to make challah for Shabbos had a blessing in it. And we're not talking about how good it tasted. I'm sure it did. But the blessing is the love that she poured into it. Onan kosher al oel. Godliness was present in her tent. You came into the tent of our mother Sora, you felt special. You felt that you transcended mere human emotion. So that's the goal. That's what we have to try to do. Tall order. Takes a lifetime even to approach it. And Chazal already said the great idea that we're not bound to win the race, but we are bound to run it at least. We have to try. And especially for our children and grandchildren, especially to show the next generation the distinction and the uniqueness of being Jewish, the greatness of Torah, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, and of the chesed to be done towards others that need it. So again, I want to wish you all a good year, a Ksiva v'chasima tova. We should hear good news one from the other. And the Lord will help us that it will be a good year. And we'll be zochet to Yeshuos v'nechomos. And I thank you for listening to me.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to, in wrapping up, I just want to thank, first of all, I apologize again for the technical glitch. This has been recorded, so whoever missed, it'll be available, as I said, to the entire shul, all the shuls in the community, anyone else who wants to hear the words of Rabbi Wein. I do want to thank Rabbi Wein, who immediately, when I called him, given that this is a Zoom year, the first year that we've been doing this where we haven't had a live speaker, which accounts somewhat for the technical glitches. But because of it, it gave us the ability also to reach out to someone like Rabbi Wein, who is really probably the foremost expert in Jewish history, or one of the foremost experts in Jewish history in the world, besides being a noted Rav and etc. So it gave us the opportunity, and he immediately said thank you, that he was willing to do this for us. So we thank him. He's not going to hear this now because it's 4 a.m. his time. But thankful to Rabbi Wein, thankful to Sari Trapper of Yad Eliezer, not only for all the work she does for Yad Eliezer on a voluntary basis here in the United States, but for arranging this videotaping of Rabbi Wein in Israel. And I want to thank Aaron Breslin of Or Torah for making these technical arrangements. We will make sure, if we ever have to do this again, and please God, next year we will not have to have a Zoom, and we will go back to a live presentation. But if we ever have to do this again, we'll make sure that we are able to get many more people in, because a lot of people wanted to participate. And I think that's a credit, not just to the fact that people want to be part of Yad Eliezer, but it's a credit to the fact that people before Yamim Noraim want to hear tshuva, want to do tshuva, and want to do chesed and tzedakah as part of the tshuva process. And so, again, I want to wish you all ksiva chasima tova, a good gebench, gesund yor, and please God, we'll only have simchas from now on.